What the electorate should be able to expect as a minimum from politicians is honesty, fair play, integrity. Yet far too often we see this is missing. Why is that? For me, one of the main reasons is that most politicians have dual loyalties. So they face the electorate, but they also have an accountability to the party hierarchy. And if the party tells them to say something that contradicts what they said before, or prevents them following through on a promise, well, the party's spoken. Their career depends on following that instruction. Often this leaves politicians sounding and looking ridiculous. Unfortunately, the victim of that usually isn't the politician, it's the electorate. So I had an example of this myself in 2021. It was at the time when the government was deciding whether or not to vaccinate children. I've got 2 children myself, so I took an active interest in this. I wrote to the councillor and I asked their opinion on whether they would speak up. My councillor wrote back and said basically she had no opinion on this, but she would stand by whatever the JCVI said. That's the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. So shortly after that, the JCVI issued their verdict and they recommended not to go ahead and vaccinate children. That was a big surprise at the time. Most people expected the opposite decision. Of course, the government threw that out and said, well, we're going to vaccinate anyway. So I wrote back to the council and I asked, would you now stand by what you told me before? She replies, yes, I do stand by what I said before to support the JCVI's decision not to vaccinate, but I also stand by the government's decision to vaccinate. I mean, and the kicker was, at the end of that letter, she said, I believe there's no contradiction between these 2 positions. Now, this is not about vaccination, by the way. You could be in favour of it, you could be against it, you could be agnostic. Of course, that's not the point. The point is, if you have politicians that have split loyalties, you end up with politicians sounding ridiculous and not able to have that integrity and honesty that we should be able to expect. So I think what we need in this country and in this town and in my ward, what we need are fewer party politicians and more ordinary people who are able to represent their constituents with the single loyalty and accountability that they can offer. So please, if you do have the chance in your ward, please consider to support and vote for your independent candidate. Thank you very much.